Good evening. Tonight, you are invited to drift back to a time when simply surviving this land was already a quiet struggle. A place not yet printed clearly on the world's maps, known only through rumors whispered in foreign ports. A distant eastern kingdom of floods, heat, and venomous snakes. And when the West first appeared, it did not arrive like crashing waves or marching armies. It came slowly, like rain seeping into a thatched roof after the monsoon. You are an ordinary person then, perhaps the child of a village teacher, or someone who rows a small boat across the river at dawn. Yet your ears hear more than you realize. Before settling in, remember, if you find this journey gentle enough to stay with you, you may rest here again. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of a fan soften the air and allow yourself to drift. It is a night in the late 18th century, somewhere near Saigon. Drums begin to echo from the direction of the old citadel. Not festival drums, but warning drums. People whisper that Nguyen An, the last surviving royal heir hunted nearly to extinction, has returned once more. This time, he does not come alone, not only with regional allies, but with pale-skinned men, light-eyed strangers, whose language bends strangely in the mouth. One of them always wears a long black robe, a small cross hanging from his neck, swaying as he walks. His name sounds long and foreign, but the villagers call him simply Father Pignot, and behind him walks a young boy, barely 5 years old, cleaner, fairer, dressed differently from you, a prince sent across the seas to learn, while you are still learning how to mend fishing nets. And yet both of you are standing on the same shore, watching history quietly choose its direction. Soon, the truth becomes clearer. Nguyen An has sought help from France, not openly, but carefully. Promises traded for support. Weapons, gunpowder, advisors, and a private agreement, a treaty signed far away, in Versailles, held by only a few hands, and never meant for common eyes. You grow older, and you see victory return, enemies defeated, heads displayed on city gates. But you also notice something else. Foreign men strolling through markets, studying bamboo groves, river currents, fish stalls. At the time, it feels harmless, almost curious. But years later, you will understand. No one needs to seize land by force when it can be purchased with patience, with sugar, with butter, with promises. One afternoon, you slip in a rice field, and a foreign soldier helps you up. He does not speak your language, but presses a piece of candy into your palm. Sweet, rich, unlike anything you have tasted before. And in that moment, you learn something quietly dangerous. Conquest does not always arrive with blades. Sometimes it arrives tasting like comfort, like kindness, like relief. The city changes slowly. Flags appear on rooftops. Oil lamps glow brighter than before. Celebrations are held. Wine flows. And Father Pignot is praised as a benefactor of the throne. Everyone seems pleased, except you. Still too young to name the feeling, but old enough to see it in their eyes. Not joy, but possession, as if a prize has already been claimed. And somewhere beyond the horizon, another French ship is already approaching, carrying not only goods, but a future that has not yet announced itself. The ship arrives at dawn, wrapped in mist, carrying the sharp scent of salt, tar, and old wood. By now you are 15, old enough to follow your father to the docks, old enough to notice the unusual cargo being unloaded. Thick books, heavy, printed in strange curling letters, marked faintly with the symbol of the cross. Along with them come men who do not wear armor, who carry no rifles, only black robes, small wooden crosses, and eyes that feel deeper than wells. They do not shout, they do not command, but wherever they walk, whispers begin to follow. One of them enters the market one morning, smiling awkwardly, offering silver coins, speaking your language with careful effort, buying fish no one planned to sell. The crowd laughs, not cruelly, just amused, and he laughs too, then sits and listens. When he returns weeks later, a village child walks beside him. The boy now knows Latin letters, knows numbers, knows how to speak of heaven. His eyes glow when he speaks. His mother receives rice, salt, a white candle, and soon you hear a new word carried on the wind: baptism. It does not feel like temple rituals, you know. No incense, no ancestral names. Instead, water poured over the head, a new name given, foreign names: John, Peter, Maria, names that belong to no ancestor in your village. The people divide quietly, some drawn by learning, by help, by full bowls, others watching carefully, calling it a strange faith, a dangerous one. Each conversion brings tears, anger, silence, and you choose silence, noticing how the men in black never arrive empty-handed. Medicine, cloth, mirrors, small luxuries that feel almost magical to those who have little. Soon, rumors reach the capital. Officials worry about divided loyalties, about ancestors left unhonored. You are unsure who is right, but you see patterns. Wherever missionaries settle, tiled roofs appear months later. Children survive illness. Mothers cry less. Yet from those same places, letters begin traveling outward, not to the court, but across the sea. You hear it from traders. When missionaries are pressured, they write to France, describing persecution, suffering, pleading for protection. And then, a warship appears offshore, silent, unmoving, its message simple: we are watching. That night, your father speaks softly. Faith is not wrong, he says. Wrong is when faith arrives on the path of cannons. Your mother replies, debts must be repaid. But if land is lost, where will ancestors be honored? You lie awake, staring at a wooden cross left accidentally on your doorstep. Gift or warning, you cannot tell, but you begin to understand. France did not only help a man become king, it has already stepped into dreams, language, belief, and it will not stop there. Years pass, quietly, like water wearing down stone, and one cold morning near the Lunar New Year, you wake to fog thick enough to hide the riverbanks. Then you see it, a shape on the sea unlike any vessel you have known. Black iron, towering, breathing smoke like an angered beast, a steamship, the first you have ever seen. It moves without sails, without oars, gliding forward as if the water itself obeys. Men aboard wear pale uniforms, soft caps, notebooks clutched tightly in their hands. They do not enter the market, do not ask prices. They stand on deck, studying the shore, measuring land with their eyes. You think they are merchants, until you notice how they ask for coastal villages, request land for churches, rest stations, always with translators whose voices are gentle, reassuring, too gentle. Your grandfather's words return to you. Those who speak softly often do so while tying the rope. Within a few years, churches rise like mushrooms after rain. Not grand, not gilded, but always full. A childhood friend becomes a lay preacher. He no longer curses, no longer offers incense to his parents. When you ask why, he answers calmly. Ancestors must care for themselves. The village splits, belief against belief, curiosity against fear. You walk between both, attending ancestral rites, sometimes entering the church to listen to music that feels like clouds pulling the soul upward. You begin to notice something else. The missionaries know the land, every path, every watchpost, every canal, without maps, signs carved on trees, stones marked subtly, letters exchanged in languages you cannot read, and then rumors spread. Envoys from the capital, urged to open ports, to trade, to modernize. You hear words like progress, science, civilization, yet you see local traders pushed aside, native goods cheapened, people borrowing money to buy foreign products, their own labor sold back to them with new names. You travel once to Da Nang. The smell of coal hits you before the fish. French camps rise without permission. Locals hired as labor promised protection. An officer smiles at you. "We are here to protect the faithful," he says, then casually asks about currents, fort positions, supply routes. When you return home, your father listens, says nothing. Your mother sighs. Someone whispers, "They will take this land, eventually." You do not laugh. You remember how they once looked at the shore, like merchandise, not home. Pressure does not arrive loudly at first. It arrives as paperwork, as invitations, as dinners held under soft lantern light. You are sent once to the capital as a courier, carrying letters you are not meant to read. Along the road, you hear strange things. Officials promoted because they speak French. Schools printing Latin letters beside classical script. Presses humming late into the night. In the capital, the palace is quieter than you imagined. Guards stand still. Flags barely move. And at a long table sit men who do not use chopsticks. Knives and forks scrape gently against porcelain. They are called friendly nations, allies who once helped the king reclaim his throne. Favors remembered like stones carried in a sleeve. That night, a guard tells you in a whisper, someone proposed leasing a harbor for protection. You do not yet understand the word, but you understand the gesture. A hand tied gently and told not to fear. When sealed documents are carried down to the ships at dawn, no one announces their contents. Some say trade agreements, others say missionary privileges, others say maps. You return home heavier than before, and soon everything accelerates. New priests arrive, speaking little Vietnamese, offering medicine, never sermons, yet always asking about roads, rivers, soldiers. Every evening they write, thick notebooks filling with careful lines. Your father murmurs, "They no longer need to fight. We are giving it to them ourselves." Then come rumors from the coast. A French ship has anchored, not attacking, simply waiting, watching, its presence itself a warning. That night, your village argues. Some say faith must be protected. Others say tradition is being erased. and between them, fear grows. Soon decrees are issued, restrictions, arrests, churches dismantled, priests captured, and as punishment rises, letters fly across the sea, describing suffering, injustice, cries for intervention. You hear of petitions in Paris, stories told as truth, even when shaped by distance. And then, one morning, the sound reaches you, distant, dull, unmistakable cannons, fired not in celebration, but declaration. Da Nang, they say. The French have fired without warning, claiming moral duty, protection, necessity. You sit beside a jar of water, watching ripples spread from a single drop, understanding at last. This was never sudden, never an accident. The empire did not storm the gate. It knocked, waited, entered, and now it announces itself with iron and smoke. The news spreads faster than the smoke itself. Da Nang has fallen, not after a long war, but after a brief exchange where steel spoke louder than tradition. You do not see the battle, but those who return describe it with shaking hands. Ships with 4 smokestacks, cannons roaring like thunder tearing open the earth, defenders firing back with shorter guns, slower hands, courage meeting machinery. You sit listening, fingers tightening around a rice spoon, not in anger, but in disbelief. Only years ago, these same men asked for land to build churches, asked politely, asked gently. Now they no longer ask. That night, alarm drums beat again, the kind once used only for floods. Refugees arrive, carrying nothing but children and fear, and soon, Saigon follows, faster than anyone expects. Flags lowered, new flags raised, cloth brighter, stronger, untouched by sun or rain. You laugh once, bitterly, thinking perhaps they brought entire factories with them. The countryside empties, people flee into forests. But even there, the empire reaches, not with fire, but with paper, loans, aid, clinics, soldiers who do not burn villages. They take one man instead, execute him publicly, and the village polices itself afterward. You begin to fear something deeper than soldiers. You fear how quickly people adjust, how quickly survival rewrites loyalty. One evening by the river, you see a crate spill open, books, maps, treaties, and one paper catches your eye. You cannot read the language, but you see the seals, Vietnamese, French, side by side, and you understand. This was not only taken, it was signed away, invited, legalized. A child runs past holding a loaf of bread, laughing, saying the foreigners gave it to him, and you sit on an old stone step staring at the city glowing brighter than ever, brighter, yet colder. The next morning, you are assigned to record households under the new administration, an administrative task, they say, but really a way to count who remains, who submits, who disappears. Villages you once knew are hollow. Doors hang open, white cloth tied to posts like quiet mourning. Elders do not cry. They simply stop speaking. In the city, streets are renamed. Latin letters nailed carefully into place. A man is paid to install the sign. He shrugs. Work is work. You do not argue. Those who do vanish. In a tea stall, an old scholar whispers, "Once we had kings and invaders. Now we have invaders we call friends." Soon, treaties are announced. Territories surrendered to maintain peace. The word peace tastes strange. like something diluted until it means obedience. You hear of officials who protested, of one governor who chose death over surrender. You do not know him, yet his choice tightens something in your chest, proof that dignity still exists, somewhere, even if buried quickly. That night, rain leaks through your roof, dripping steadily, and you realize the empire did not conquer in a single strike. It entered slowly, patiently, until resistance felt heavier than submission. After the cannons fall silent, the real work begins. The land is divided, carefully, neatly, as if borders could be drawn without pain. The north becomes protected, the center supervised, the south claimed outright. 3 names for one country, 3 ways to live under the same sky. You hear children arguing over which region is better, which has roads, which has electricity, as if comfort could replace belonging. In villages, collaboration grows quietly, not from loyalty, but exhaustion. A former friend now wears a uniform issued by the empire. Another translates orders for officers who cannot pronounce local names. When you ask him why, he smiles thinly, says survival has a salary. Schools change, lessons arrive in a new language. Children count differently now. Bread replaces rice in their hands. Coffee replaces tea on the tables, and the word progress is spoken often. So often it loses meaning. You walk through markets where signs are printed wrong. Vietnamese names twisted but reproduced in hundreds of copies. No one bothers to correct them. Meaning fades beneath repetition. In the countryside, resistance flares and dies quickly, betrayed by hunger, by informants paid in coin or safety. Executions are public, brief, efficient. The village is forced to watch, not to terrify, but to teach. Teach restraint. Teach silence. You fear something worse than violence. You fear forgetting. Forgetting what things were called. Forgetting why they mattered. One evening, you attend a gathering in the hills. No banners, no weapons, only stories told softly by firelight of past heroes, of victories whispered like forbidden prayers. Someone says, "We do not need to shout. We only need to remember." The words settle heavy in your chest. Back in the city, celebrations are held. New buildings rise. Telegraph wires stretch across rooftops like veins carrying foreign commands. Newspapers praise civilization. Mothers cry quietly as sons leave to work for the administration. You pass a church glowing warmly at night, bells ringing in harmony with temple gongs. Beautiful, unsettling. 2 sounds sharing air but not meaning. You realize then, the empire has not erased faith, it has rearranged it. Belief becomes currency, loyalty becomes paperwork, identity becomes optional, and slowly, people stop asking who they are and start asking who they must become. Time moves on, and with it, a quiet awakening, not loud enough to be called rebellion, not strong enough to stop the empire, but present, stubborn, alive. You begin to notice it in small things, in the way elders correct a child's pronunciation when no one is listening, in the way old maps are hidden beneath floorboards, in the way stories are told again at night, slower, softer, but never forgotten. You hear of young men leaving villages, not marching, just disappearing into hills and forests, returning months later thinner, quieter, eyes sharper. They do not speak of victory, only of keeping the fire alive. in the north. Whispers spread of study groups, of people reading banned texts by oil lamp, learning not just the foreign language, but how to use it against its owners. You see it too. Clerks copying documents, pausing, memorizing routes, numbers, names, pretending obedience while storing memory. The empire tightens control, but control creates friction, and friction creates heat. Newspapers grow louder, officials boast of progress, yet hunger remains. Dignity shrinks, and silence becomes heavier than chains. One night, you dream of a map again, torn into pieces. But this time, hands appear, many hands, passing fragments quietly between them, not trying to force them together, just refusing to let any piece disappear. You wake with a strange calm, realizing something important. Conquest can seize land, rewrite borders, rename streets, but it cannot finish its work unless people agree to forget. And forgetting, you now see, is harder than fear, harder than hunger, harder even than survival. Somewhere far away, a name begins to circulate, carried through letters, through conversations cut short, spoken once, then repeated carefully, not shouted, not announced, just remembered. You do not yet know the future, only that it has begun moving, slowly, quietly, like water beneath the soil, patient, unstoppable. In the end, you understand that history is not only written by those who arrive with flags and cannons, it is also carried by those who endure quietly, who live through the long night without applause, without certainty. You walk once more through the fields of your childhood. Rice shoots still rise from the mud. Frogs still sing at dusk. The land itself has not forgotten you, even if papers say it belongs to someone else. Cities glow brighter now, streets renamed, clocks ticking to a different rhythm. Children speak words their grandparents do not understand. Yet when night falls, when noise softens, something older returns. The sound of wind through bamboo, the smell of wet earth, the memory of names once spoken with pride. You realize then, empires do not fall all at once, and neither do nations disappear in a single generation. What is taken by force may last years, decades, but what is remembered lasts longer, much longer, somewhere. People are still writing, still learning, still choosing patience over surrender, not because they believe victory is near, but because forgetting would mean losing everything. You sit beneath a fading moon, listening to distant bells, distant drums, two worlds sharing the same night, and for the first time in a long while, you are not afraid, because you know, conquest ends when memory refuses to sleep. And as your breathing slows, as the story fades into quiet, remember this: the empire entered like a whisper, but the land, it listens, and it remembers. Sleep now. The story will continue, even when you close your eyes.